I just watched a majority of the Evangelion rebuild films. I could only make it 20 minutes into the third because I just have simply had enough. I have to splay my guts into a video so I don't have this filth stewing in me any longer. Evangelion is one of my favorite franchises of all time, primarily because of End of Evangelion, the film that concludes the series Neon Genesis Evangelion. Quite a while after the series concluded, it was retold in a series of 4 films known as the Rebuilds. The first 2 are a nearly identical retelling of the original series, while the end of the second onward is something entirely unique. I think that while interesting, the retelling is generally pointless. Anything that was changed didn't seem to make much positive impact at all. I kind of liked how they talked about fish a bit more, but that's all I can remember. You could argue it cuts down on the fluff in the original series, but I think that stuff is important. I think that borderline generic plots and subplots in the series made the relationships between the characters feel quite real. It made me attached. I have almost zero reason to care about anybody while watching the rebuilds. There's no charm for me. The split between the 2 tellings of the story is around the third impact. It's a big disaster, basically. In End of Evangelion, the third impact is one of the most tragic, brilliant, and horrifying sequences of any film, TV show, or any piece of art whatsoever. It's astounding. In the rebuilds, it basically happens off-screen between movies, and we start to watch a post-Third Impact world unfold. Sounds neat, but I don't care. I don't care about any of this. Why should I care about this visual noise? It makes my eyes glaze over. While engaging in one of the sparse scraps of media in my favorite franchise of all time, I could not bear to even pay attention. I wasn't even getting distracted, I was just not absorbing anything. It didn't feel important. End of Evangelion is a complex and sexually confused movie. Almost Freudian. It exploits the male gaze that the series had and twists it, not just as a criticism, but as a demolition of Shinji Ikari, the main character, and possibly the viewer by proxy. He is the lowest of the low, or the scum of the earth, depending on the translation. It plays with the idea of collective consciousness, taking these characters and placing them in one mind as the result of the human instrumentality project, to stew in hatred of each other's secrets and flaws. Everyone is left hurt by the end, physically, emotionally, spiritually. The world is demolished, and the final words come from the mouth of someone who's barely alive. Disgusting, she says to a crying, embittered Shinji. It is a heavy movie, and I found that the rebuilds were garbage popcorn movies that jangled the third impact and the male gaze in front of the viewer without any of the interesting exploration of the original run. It felt like a betrayal to watch this stomach-churning sexualization occur without any condemnation like in the original. It felt dirty, not in some interesting exploratory or artistic way, but in a way that just felt like the creators wanted to draw girls in compromising positions. Disgusting. I want to show you a sequence from End of Evangelion, or EOE for us in the biz, to show you what I mean. I'm going to assume now that you know the basic plot of the series, so I don't have to explain what everything is. Evangelion has too much jargon. If you're confused, just roll with it. You'll get to experience what it's like to watch the show, because it is not explained in that either. Shinji is depressed, deprived, and, yeah, I'll say it, nonverbal. I headcanon autism. From Misato's perspective, Shinji is the only person who can save the world, basically, and must be snapped out of this episode at any cost. She gives him a long, non-platonic, non-maternal kiss on the lips, and then bleeds out as Shinji goes to Unit 01. The movie doesn't tell you how to feel about this. It's uncomfortable. Asuka, who Shinji has been trying to reach and assist, is suddenly brutally killed after what seems like success. All of her work is undone, and she's disemboweled for Shinji to see, arriving too late. It's uncomfortable. Everyone Shinji knows is basically dead, and Zele's plan for human instrumentality is underway, using Shinji as a catalyst within Unit 01 by destroying his ego and ritualistically transforming 01 into the Tree of Life to give him the power to decide what happens to humanity. Shinji decides that nobody deserves to live. It's uncomfortable. Once within the combined stew of consciousness, characters confront each other because nothing is separating the parts of one another they hate. It's uncomfortable. Once returning to physical space, Shinji chokes Asuka next to a sea of blood. It's uncomfortable, it's complex, it's one of the most intricate films I've ever seen. There is no one meaning to anything that happens. It's deeply confusing and confounding, layered and upsetting. It's amazing. The rebuilds don't have any of this. I took the time to explain why I like the original film so much so I can emphasize how sterile the rebuilds are. There is no iconography, nothing confusing, nothing challenging, nothing even really emotional. It's not coming from some genuine place, I don't think. When there's nudity in EOE, I can point directly to how and why it contributes to the film thematically or emotionally. In the rebuilds, it's just to ogle at. I refuse, for multiple reasons, to show the numerous gratuitously sexual shots that are in the rebuilds, but believe me, they exist. In EOE, there are scenes with fully nude women that don't center the nudity. It allows it to exist without finding an excuse to sexualize it. However, it will visually center it when the scene is from Shinji's point of view, because he's a sexually confused and slightly perverted character. The rebuilds simply don't have this depth. A character can be completely alone and we get a shot showing as much skin as possible just to appeal to some vile viewer base. I'm gonna pivot now because I'm a hack writer and I don't want to make outlines for my scripts. The fight scenes in the rebuilds are garish noise. There is no direction or weight to anything. Everything is a CG mess of colors and post-processing and overproduction. Let's compare a fight from EOE to one from the second rebuild. First thing to notice is the visuals. I have zero clue what's going on in the rebuilds because it's so messy and dark. I can't tell what's a lens flare and what's a bad guy. What's happening in this frame? What about this one? In EOE, there's no ambiguity. It's visually striking and clear. Every shot feels intentionally placed, framed, and timed to give you the perfect view of what's happening. The audio is a weak piddle in the rebuilds compared to EOE. Listen. EOE does exactly what it needs to, but the rebuild just throws every single element into the mix at once, and it's absolutely sludge to listen to. Oh, and if you thought I would concede that the piano thing is kinda cute, it's not. Nice job playing the piano perfectly on your first try. Nice on-the-nose metaphor. In the original series, Shinji kills Kaoru even though he has feelings for him, and it traumatizes him. It messes him up. But in this, he's just some guy. I could talk for a lot longer about why the rebuilds are garbage, but I have to stop being mad about this. I love End of Evangelion, and I think everybody should watch it. I want to put more energy into loving the movie than hating a bunch of worse ones.